All right, it's 3 o'clock in the Eastern Shore, noon in California. Hello and welcome to today's webinar about improving student success and persistence to graduation with Bookshare and Capti. Ensuring student success despite the pandemic and all the related adversities is definitely a topic that has been on our minds this year. My name is Yevgen. Nearly 20 years ago, I decided to dedicate my career to improving computer accessibility for people with disabilities, and it's been an exciting ride. I'm currently a part-time research professor at Stony Brook University, State University of New York, and the CEO of Capti, an all-in-one solution to support and accommodate reading and now writing as well for college students, faculty, and staff. And I'll be your host today. And my hope is that you will leave this webinar with new ideas about how to help your students be more successful, at least academically. And now, before I introduce our main speaker, I want to spend a minute or two framing the topic. So as a university faculty, I know that colleges and universities are complex organizations with many priorities, but first and foremost, we exist for and because of students. And it's actually hard to imagine a college without students. Even before the pandemic, many colleges had retention challenges with 40% of students on average not graduating. And now due to COVID, many colleges see their enrollment drop by up to 25%. And because of that, it's now important more than ever to help students stick around and succeed in college. And there are so many reasons why students drop out, but if you go to the basics, you'd probably agree that persisting to graduation has a lot to do with keeping up with all the required reading and writing. And most students fail to keep up due to a lack of time, discipline, preparation, or because of a disability. And as you know, about 20% of undergrads report having a disability. So most of these issues can be alleviated with good counseling and/or education technology. And that's why this spring and summer, many campuses are reevaluating their technology toolboxes and looking for tools that will help improve student success next school year. Because frankly, we can't afford to lose any more students. And this is why we invited Lara Rondberg from Benetech to tell us how Bookshare will help you improve student success and persistence to graduation for students with disabilities. And I will then show you how Bookshare works with Capti and how Capti will help you better support all of your students, faculty, and staff, not just those with disabilities. So with that in mind, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Lara Rondberg. She's the Associate Relationship Manager at the Benetech Bookshare Global Literacy Program, where she supports efforts to expand Bookshare in K through 12 and higher education. Lara has a passion for leveraging technology to help people with disabilities increase knowledge, skills, and independence. Feel free to contact Lara directly if you have any questions about Bookshare. Lara, take it away.
Great. Thank you for the great introduction, and thank you everybody for joining us today. What I'm going to do is kind of go over an overview of what Bookshare is and do some demos of show you how easy it is to get your students connected to Bookshare and get books to them. So the problem is that printed text doesn't work for all learners. About 5% of students have some type of barrier to reading printed textbooks. These students, if they cannot interact with the typical print books, they're not going to learn what they need to be successful in school. They get frustrated, they don't like to read. They never really learn to read at grade level when they're younger. So that is then another barrier to graduating and moving on to post-secondary. Many school districts have started moving towards a digital curriculum or other audiobooks, but just because something is digital doesn't mean it is accessible to people with reading barriers. So what is Bookshare? So Bookshare is an ebook library that helps people with reading barriers read in ways that work for them. All of the books can be listened to as just a simple audiobook. The synchronized highlighted text-to-speech and audio, so seeing the text and hearing it at the same time really helps people, especially with learning disabilities, dyslexia. All the books can be read with a very large font if someone just has low vision and needs a larger font. The books can be printed out in Braille or read on a refreshable Braille display. And the books can also be read on a variety of reading tools, one which we will learn about later, plus many of the assistive technology devices that are used for students with reading disabilities. So Bookshare offers, we're almost at 1 million titles. Every month we add about 5,000 titles, and that's textbooks, trade, fiction, nonfiction, periodicals, books for upskilling and career. So once someone has moved on after college, if they enter a career, need to keep up their knowledge in that area. Those kind of technical manuals, plus just all the bestsellers, the award winners, the New York Times bestsellers. We feature those every time it's updated in the New York Times. It's updated with us. So a wide variety of books that people might want to read for school and for pleasure. Best of all, Bookshare is free for qualified U.S. students of any age. That's pre-K through graduate school, adult education, vocational education. As long as someone is a student in a program where they have to pass or gaining a credential, the membership is free. For people who are no longer students, it is $50 a year for unlimited access to books 24/7. And there are many free and low cost and commonly available reading options to read Bookshare books. So Bookshare in higher education, we have publishing partnerships with over 900 publishers. This has allowed us to build our collection to almost 1 million books. We have about 3,000 college level textbooks, and we have partnerships with several university press partners. And that's something we've really been working on the last couple of years, is getting more higher education related text into our collection. If a student needs a book that we don't have, we can usually get it. Sometimes if we can get it directly from the publisher in the digital format that we need, it can be in the collection within a week. We can't get the digital file from the publisher. We actually purchase the book, chop it, scan it, and get it into our collection. But we do make every effort to get books that students need for their coursework. So as I mentioned, Bookshare, it's not just free for qualified students, it's only available to qualified students. It's based on copyright law, and the law states that someone is eligible who is blind or has a visual impairment or a perceptual or reading disability or a physical disability that prevents them from holding a book, turning the pages, seeing the words on the page, decoding the words on the page in a way that is significantly different than someone that does not have one of those impairments. The law states that that determination of who is eligible is made by a competent authority, and that's it could be someone in the disability service office who has knows the student had an IEP in K-12, or knows the student has a visual impairment or physical disability such as cerebral palsy, or even an educator that has worked with the student, sees that they have a barrier to decoding and ingesting the material. If they feel that the student would benefit from receiving their text in this alternative format because they're struggling in one of these ways, then that serves as the basis of qualification. And in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how easy it is to add a student and what that process is like of how you attest that your student meets the criteria. Bookshare offers 2 membership types. What we refer to as our organizational account, that is what a school, a university, a disability service office might sign up for, a school district, a community center. Someone signs up for the account and then adds the students who qualify. And those students can only read books that faculty member assigns to them. We also offer an individual membership, which is also free for students. And with that, the student can access any book in the full collection that they wish. They want to read a New York Times bestseller for pleasure on a vacation, they can do that. And these 2 accounts can be linked. So when your college or university has an account and you add the students, they can also be easily given the individual membership. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. As I mentioned, the individual membership allows them to read from the full collection. It also saves the teachers time. Students, by the time they get to post-secondary, many are pretty independent. And if you handed them a list of the books that they needed, they could just go in and find them. If not, the teacher can still, if the student's on the school account, they can still assign them But every time a student needs a book, maybe they want to read something to supplement what's a required material, or they're interested in exploring other academic areas that they're not actively taking courses, they can go ahead and find that on their own. And again, that can be the faculty can initiate the student, the individual membership, or the student can do it for themselves if they're over 18. So there are many ways to read the books. You can read them on a computer or laptop, Chromebook, smartphones, tablets, assistive technology devices, as I mentioned. In a little bit, you're going to see a demonstration of Capti, which is one of the tools that integrates really well with Bookshare, and that will be demonstrated. But I just wanted to point out that pretty much any device someone has, they would be able to access Bookshare books on that device. So now I'm going to go to our website and show you how easy it is to add a student. So I am logged in as an educator, and in our system, we call educators or teachers or faculty are called sponsors, and students are called members. So I can either go to the members link or the add a student button. This takes me to my member roster. Select the add a member button. We do require a birth date, current grade, and you can see you can select what year they are in school. And then every student is given a username and password. That's how they log in and find the books that have been assigned to them. And then under here, there is the qualifying information, and you check whether it's a visual, learning, or physical disability. That's all you need to do to provide the proof of disability. We don't require any forms to be sent to us about the students. Just you, as a faculty member, has that knowledge that that student meets one of these criteria. Oops.
Laura, there are a few questions. Can I read them as you're going through this?
Sure.
All right. The first one we have is, does the student need to be 18 to have an individual account?
No, they don't. Just if they're under 18, the parent or legal guardian needs to complete the form on the website to just check a box that they are the legal guardian.
And the next one is, why is there a date of birth required?
That is required by, we're funded by the Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs, and I'm not quite sure exactly why, if it's for reporting purposes, but that is required to add a member.
All right, and then we have one last one. What if I work with students who believe they have dyslexia but cannot provide me with documentation?
They would need to provide something, or if the a faculty member could administer some type of test. There's different online screening tests now. I believe there's actually even a free one where the student goes through, a test. There's also something called UPAR that is from Don Johnston. That is a way to evaluate students' reading and level of reading, and it helps determine what accommodations might be needed. There's a free version and a paid version of that. So sometimes if someone doesn't have documentation, but it's suspected, whether the student suspects it or a faculty member, they can go through one of those ways or facilitate an accommodation through the school's disability service office.
Okay, everybody else who's asking questions, Laura will type out the answers for you as her and Jean switch demos. So I'm gonna save the rest for her to type out an answer. Okay,
great. So I've added the student to my roster, and now I want to get them books. There's 3 ways to search. You can enter title, author, or ISBN in the search bar, and that is at the top of every page on our website at bookshare.org. There's advanced search, which enables you to really narrow down. If you only want books that contain images and you want it for college senior level, about psychology, you can do that. To just further narrow your search. We also have the browse page, and these are full of special collections that our Bookshare librarians have put together. see the New York Times bestsellers, new books, and then organized kids, teens, teachers, adults, disability resources. And these are just special collections that, when you select the cover, there's a bunch of books in there that are in that category. So you would say for teachers, you're working with a college student, we actually have a special collection called Applying to College. Here's a book, College and Career Success for Students with Learning Disabilities. I think this is going to be helpful for my student. All I have to do is select the Assign button. It's then going to ask me which students I would like to assign the book to. Select them, could select them all, select 1, 2, and that book is now assigned to that student. So when they log in with their username and password, they can easily see that their teacher has assigned a book. We also offer what's called reading lists, and these are collections that you can create on this reading list page. We're not going to demo that now, but just to show you, here's one I created. You can add several books at once. So if at the beginning of the semester, there's going to be 10 required readings, you can create a reading list. You can make it individual just for one student, or if you have 5 students who all will be needing that same book, you can junior year English list, whatever you want to call it, and then you assign which members you wish to have access to that reading list, and then they can access that. Just add the member, and that just pulls from your member roster. So that's kind of just the brief demo of how easy it is to add a student and find and assign books. We do offer our Help Center is an area where you can go to search if you've forgotten how to do a step. You can search here for frequently asked questions. We also have this Learning Center that has different sections depending on where you are in your Bookshare journey. Relatively new is this ABC of Bookshare for Educators that takes you through all the steps from signing up for an account to setting up an account. It has short videos and guides that you can download that give you the step-by-step. So if you get stuck, don't remember how to do something, want to learn more, this is a great place to go for help. And we also, on our Help Center, at the bottom, we have a phone number and email for our customer support team who are happy to answer questions Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And with that, I will turn it over to Jean.
All right, maybe let's spend a few more minutes answering questions.
Sure.
Have time planned for a quick Q&A.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Any questions you'd like to answer verbally?
Yes. Someone asked how students request a book that is not listed in Bookshare. Great question. Under that Help Center, there's a request a book link on that left side, and they click on that and it takes them to a form where they can then put in the title, ISBN, all the information about a book and submit that to us. Someone has asked what to do in terms of choosing the format of the book. Oh, good. That's another question. Great question. Yeah, next to every book, you can see there's a drop-down menu item that says Word, EPUB, DAISY text, BRF, which is a Braille format. You really don't need to use any special format unless the student is using a special device that requires a certain format. So you can just, if you don't select any format, that's fine. These days, most students are reading on tablets, on Chromebooks, in tools like Capti, where they just need to have access to the title, and that all happens in the back end. But say a student is using like a refreshable Braille display device, then the teacher would need to actually select BRF. And then when the student logs in, they would see that. But they also have the ability to download the book in the format of their choice. They can then select that. So it doesn't really matter if you don't do the correct one for a specialized tool they might have, because they can then make that selection. Another question, can you download a book and share it with a student, or they need to sign in and grab it? Yes, they need to sign in and get the book on the reading tool that they're using. And that's due to the copyright law. Only the student with the reading barrier is allowed to access the full text. So educators aren't able to look at the whole book. If there's something you really need to review before you assign it to a teacher, you can sign in as them with their username and password with them and take a look at the book.
All right, maybe you can keep answering the questions
Sure.
in chat, and I will pick up your demo right from where you left off and show how we can access the assigned books in Capti. So first and foremost, Capti for higher education is an all-in-one solution to support and accommodate reading and writing for college students, faculty, and staff, and it could be used with and without Bookshare. If you use it with Bookshare, you'll see how much we can enhance access to Bookshare books. So here I'm logged in as a student, and we organize, this is where students can organize all of their content, all of the reading materials in the form of a playlist. So just like with music. And I'm gonna add a track from Bookshare. It's gonna ask me to log in, and I will type in the password and the username that Lara has used. And here we go. And now I can access the reading lists with all of the books that are in there. So maybe I'll just pull a book. Here's a good book about resumes. Add it to my playlist. And you also, I think, assigned a book specifically, College and Career Success. I'll import this book as well. Once the books are imported, they will appear in my playlist, and I will be able to read and listen to this book and use a lot of active reference or active reading and reference tools. So adding a book to Capti playlist pretty much makes it an audio book. So here's the color of Parachute. I can flip a few pages. You can see images if there are any. And there's also a table of contents. So I can jump to a section that I'd like to read. Just press play and listen to it. I think I may have shared the screen without the audio. So let me reshare it again. So all I need to do is to press play.
Yeah, I think I know what you want. You want me to get right to it.
So it would read and highlight it to you, highlight as it reads. I can increase the font size by just zooming in. And there's lots of visual accommodations here as well. So I can press here the T button. And if I have dyslexia, I'll probably benefit from Open Dyslexic font. And maybe if it's difficult for me to stay on the line, I can make the text more narrow and turn on masking just to see a little bit of text at a time, and increase line spacing. And if I have vision impairments, I can probably benefit from higher contrast. Zoom a little more, and then I press play. It would just read.
Template, tell you how to fill it in.
Like this. I don't have to pan left and right. I can just read accessibly. Let me reset some of these back. Turn on a more regular font. Zoom out. And now I'll show you how you can use the active reading tools. So for example, if I think that a certain section is important, I can just highlight it with any color I want. I can add my own notes. I can add bookmarks. If I don't know some word in the text, for example, I'm an English language learner, I could click a word and say translate. It will translate to one of 100 different languages. And I can listen to my own language as well.
Estás visualizando.
I can access definitions as well, if this word has a definition, and I can add it to my word list. So all of the things I just done, they go into my notepad here, where I can access and jump to my my annotations. And I can export them to a file if I need to read, work on the paper, or if I can export it as a separate track, so I can now listen to just my notes. It's a great way to, let's say, prepare for an exam. You're reading an abridged version of the notes that you have yourself created. So that's it for the active reading and reference tools, and this is where I can organize my content. This was a pre-release version. The support of reading list and assigned titles is new in Capti, and you will see it in another 2 weeks or so. I'm going to jump to my regular version of Capti, and I'll show you a few more things that you can do with it. So Capti for Higher Education enables you to support students, basically level the playing field for them, improve access to any files or documents, and also enable them to read and listen to any web pages. And for faculty, besides using it for themselves, because faculty also have disabilities, we help simplify workflows. So you can actually make content accessible and share it with students very seamlessly. And you can also administer accessible assignments and tests and accommodate students during exams. So I'll show you some of this today, but you can always reach out and we'll give you a more personalized demo. I can really spend an hour showing you everything there is in Capti, but I want to fit in 5 minutes. All right, so let me show you how you can add other files besides Bookshare to Capti. Let's say my professor shared with me a book via Canvas, and notice we support Blackboard and Canvas here. So I can just go to Canvas, go to my course. It's going to be psychology, and here's a little book. I click import. So before I showed you adaptable layout, where you can control the fonts and colors and everything, I'll load this in original layout to see the book exactly as it was laid out. So that's one from Canvas. And then maybe I want to do a presentation for my psychology class, and I had to pick up a research paper and then present it. So to read it, I already have it in my Google Drive. So I'm just going to go to Google Drive and load a paper on scam compliance. And as another example, maybe my professor has shared, just given out a worksheet during class on a piece of paper. So I can go to my Capti for iPhone and click the plus button, select camera, and snap a picture of that worksheet. Just like that, use the photo. Let's call it photo. And now it will be OCR and will become digitally accessible for me. And faculty can do this too. So now here's my psychology book that I just added. Flip a few pages, and I can now use all of the productivity tools that Capti has. I can listen to it. I can listen actually in different voices. You can go and change voices. I can select the whole section and say translate and listen to this in another language.
Clive Wearing es un músico consumado que perdió.
So the Spanish. I can go to my research paper and again, use annotations, highlights, prepare my presentation. And here's the photo that I took that synced from my phone. I took it at an angle, so it's a little bit curved here, but it's now full digitally accessible, and I can also read this. And I can respond here as well. So it's a worksheet that I need to submit back to my professor. So I can just right-click this and say insert text box and say, what is this chemical, the low levels of this chemical cause. I don't know how to pronounce this, but actually I can actually dictate the rest of my answer. Low levels of this chemical cause memory issues. There we go. If you've used Capti before, this is a brand new functionality that you haven't seen before, right? So now I can respond to all of my, fill out the worksheet, write it, dictate it, and click print, save to PDF, or print to the piece of paper and submit it to my professor. Easy peasy. And I can organize a bunch of different playlists. So that's all that the student can do. Well, actually, you can also access web pages, right? So for any website, you can select the text you want to read, open up Capti, and Capti opens up a little window. You can minimize just to use a little player, or you can read along and also customize the fonts and colors here and use the definition and translation. I can add this passage to my playlist to read it later. And I can also add the entire website, entire web page by clicking Add to Capti. And that's going to strip out all the links and add just keep the main content. And here's the passages that I just saved. And here is the entire web page. And I have synced it all to my phone. So here I can use Capti for iPhone to read everything that I picked out. And I can shift between the devices seamlessly. So that's for a student. I'm gonna probably not show much of what professors and faculty can do, but let's say if you work with a Disability Resource Center, you do need to share some materials to students. Here in another browser, I'm logged in as a faculty. And if you want to share something to students, you just create a shared playlist, give it some name. Maybe I'll share it with one specific student, Mo, create, add content. So same as students, I'll just put something into my playlist. Here's Google Drive, and I'll add all the same paper. Import. Now it's loading. Done, and then all I need to do is to select the students. I can select all of my students or just a specific student. And done. Now, my student Mo should have the scam compliance PDF book available in the playlist. I'll go look at it. Here's the shared playlist. And here's the research paper or whatever accessible materials I needed to share with my students. That's literally done in several clicks. Okay, I'll stop the demo here and just talk a little bit more about Capti. If you need LMS integration, we integrate with Canvas, Blackboard, Schoology, and Google Classroom. Here's just a few of great universities and colleges using Capti, including Cornell University, GMU, and many others. Capti has been very well recognized by awards from Department of Education, NSF, NIH, and industrial awards as well, including FCC and EdTech Digest and MIT Technology Review. But really, I much more appreciate the feedback we're getting from students and actually helping students. So here are a few quotes from successful students. Without Capti, I would not have been able to complete my reading assignments in time. Because of Capti, I have been able to get my reading assignments done on time for the first time in my entire life. And Capti allowed me to stay in college and continue to pursue my degree. I mean, that's better than any award, in my opinion. So Capti for Higher Ed really helps you address ADA compliance while supporting your students with disability, improve student success, and boost persistence to graduation for students with disabilities and those without disabilities as well. We have students who are, let's say, grad students using Capti for productivity. And there have been reports that they can read for 2 more hours longer per day with Capti than without it. And speaking about student retention, average state tuition for public in-state schools is about 11,500. And Capti really pays for itself If you get 100 user account and we just help you retain one student, you have already made money. And thanks for sticking out to the end. We do have a special offer courtesy of Bookshare. So if you mention Bookshare through the end of May, this is the pricing, discounted pricing that you can request. And again, it's free for faculty and staff. And you can use CARES Act funding for Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. So Capti may not be the best tool for every student, but I do believe that it is a tool that every college and university should have, because it does help support students and help them be more productive and successful. And to conclude, here are just a few quotes from staff of what it's done for them. Capti has allowed us to use one reader instead of looking for multiple readers to fit the needs of each student. Capti has become my first choice in sharing accessible materials with students, approved for audio course text, and students are more independent in acquiring and reading the text they need. And that's all we can hope for, that they're independent and successful. That's it for the presentation. We do have time for a Q&A. If you have any questions about pricing or pilot, contact Erica, our sales director. I'm happy to take any questions about the product and the roadmap. There's some very exciting new capabilities we're rolling out over the next year. And if you have questions for Lara, here's your email. You can reach out and set up the another demo or get a Bookshare account.